Well, good morning and welcome to Our Stories. Our guest this morning is Merrill Dees. And Merrill's going to spend some time talking with us a little bit about her time here at First Pres Church, which, as you'll learn, covers quite a number of years. But let's start first. Tell us, Merrill, a little bit about where you grew up and how many people were in your family and so forth. Some background on you.
Well, I grew up the first 15 years in Springfield, and then my dad was a railroader and he was transferred to Clinton. And I lived there until I came to Decatur and went to Milliken and got married.
Okay.
And I had one brother.
One brother, older or younger?
Younger.
Younger?
6 years younger.
Okay, all right. And you had mentioned to me when we had talked that you'd grown up in a Methodist church.
That's right.
Right, all right. And your family was pretty involved in the...
My mother mostly.
Okay.
They had a lot of dinners and things like that back then, more than they do now. And she was busy, always working in the kitchen when they had something.
Yeah. And you were in the youth group?
No, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So how did you come about coming to Decatur then?
Well, I came down here and went to Milliken for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I went back home and worked at the telephone company for a year, and the secretary to President J. Walter Malone called me and said she was leaving and was I interested in her job. Because I'd worked in that office as a student.
As a student, yeah, okay.
And so I left the telephone company and came down here.
Sure, sure. So when you came then to work here in Decatur at Milliken, did you have to find a place to live?
No, there was a man in Clinton who worked for the power company when it was downtown.
Yeah.
And I rode with him.
So you were able to carpool?
For a while, and then finally I got a place down here to stay.
Okay, yeah. Well, becoming your secretary to the president of the school, that's a pretty, can be kind of a tough job. I mean, in terms of responsibility, I would think.
Well, he was a really nice person to work for.
Was he? Well, that's great. That's great. And how long were you there?
I think it was 6 years, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay. I think you mentioned 6 before when we talked, and you said that it was about that long before your first child came along. So, and in that time, you got married.
I did.
Yeah. And how did you meet your husband?
My office was right across from the veterans office, and the GIs were coming back to school.
Yeah.
And my husband told the secretary in the veterans office that he would like to meet me. So she introduced us out in the hall between the two offices.
Okay. Well, all right. That was convenient then. That's great. That's great. And then, long in there, you joined First Pres Church.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about how that came about.
4 years after we were married, I had Karen, my first child.
Okay.
And I wanted Dr. Malone to christen her. So one Easter, Jay Logan was the pastor here, and he went to the Holy Land over Easter.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Malone preached the Easter service, and I had Karen christened.
Oh, so he as a fill-in minister then baptized your daughter here at the church, and so that was how you got here. Yeah.
Then the other two were christened here too as they came along.
Yeah. Well, I was a little curious about, your joining First Pres because of your association with Milliken.
Well, there was a little more. There was a Mrs. Perdue here I don't know what her title was, but she worked here in the church. And she invited me after we'd had Karen christened. She invited me to something they were doing for mothers with young children, and I came. And then Jay Logan came out and called on us,
Yes,
and
yeah,
that was it.
okay, all right. You've been a member here now for 55 years.
Long time.
Yeah, that is. And what are some of the things that you've been involved in here at the church over that
Oh,
time
I
period?
don't know what they called it, chairman or something of the women's group way back. I've worked in the kitchen a lot of times when they had things.
Sure. If somebody were to, talk to you and, say they were looking for a church and then you wanted to tell them about First Pres, what would you say to them?
Oh, I tell them I love this church and the people. I think we have a wonderful congregation.
Yeah. I think you told me that, you said that the thing you found when you came here was how welcoming people were.
They were.
Yeah, and that was really important to you. Yeah, so, yeah. Well, thanks very much for sharing a little bit of your memories of your 55 years here at the church, and hope that you'll be able to continue to be involved with us.
I was an elder for a little while. I think I filled in somebody's term that left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My husband was a deacon,
Mm-hmm.
which he took very seriously.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm sure that over that period of time, knowing how this church operates, that they probably were pretty good at roping one of the two of you into things. I bet so. Well, thank you so much for opening up with us about that.
You're
Okay.
very welcome.
Yeah.